to get it into slope-intercept form, which it's not currently in. So to do that, what I would do is subtract the 4x from both sides. That would give me negative 5y is less than negative 4x minus 12. Make sense? And then I would divide by negative 5 to get into slope-intercept form. And then I've got to remember that if I divide everything through by a negative on an inequality, the inequality gets flipped around. So it'd be y is greater than positive 4/5 x plus 12/5 is roughly, no, it's exactly 2.4. So if you wanted to put 2.4 there, no problem. Or 12/5. So that what that means then is my y-intercept is 2.4. So I'm going to roughly put that there. Oops. Something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, just has to be about halfway between 2 and 3. And then my slope is 4/5. So I'm going to count up, and I'll show you my slope countings here. So I'd go up 1, 2, 3, 4, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right about there. And then I just continue. Hey, guys. Hey, could you quiet down, please? Thank you. So I'll just go down the other way here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my other point. It does need to be a dotted line because the or equal to is not there. So I'll just put in a couple of dots here to kind of fill in the gaps. Continue it out to there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, right about there. So there's my line. Then I've got to consider the shading. Am I going to shade kind of like up and to the left or down and to the right? Do you remember how we test that out?
Yeah, you got to pick a point and then plug it in.
And what point do you think would be easiest? To me, 0, 0 for this one would make the most sense. I agree.
But when it's passing through the
Origin.
origin, you can't do 0, 0.
Got to pick something else. That's right. Okay, so so here's my test, Colton. 4 times 0 minus 5 times 0 is possibly less than negative 12. So of course here I get 0 minus 0. 0 is less than negative 12. Is that true or false?
False.
That's totally false. So that means 0, 0 is not in my solution set. So I need to shade the other part. So since 0, 0 is down and right, I would shade up and left. Good? Cool. All right, what else can I do for you guys?
Can we go over 4?
Uh-huh. I'll do this. So 4, again, is a solve, like solve the equation, find the solution for x. So in order to do this, one of the ways would be to get a common denominator. Actually, no matter how you do it, you got to consider the common denominator. What do you think that would be?
5.
Perfect. Okay, so I've got x over 5 equals 3 over x plus 14. And I know my lowest common denominator, like you just said, is this. So I've got to consider, how do I get there, right? So for the fraction on the left, how do I need to change the 5? Yep. So multiply top and bottom by that. Josh, you are both blessed and cursed with a loud voice. If you could keep it on the quiet side, that'd be awesome. And then, Kyrie, what about the right fraction? There you go. So multiply by 5, multiply by 5. So that'll give me x squared plus 14x over that common denominator equals 15 over that common denominator. So it's at this point we can do something that's going to make this a lot easier. What's that? I'm not going to reduce. I'm going to even go with a more radical step. I'm going to get rid of.
Yeah, that's what I meant, like the cross.
Yeah. So I'm gonna multiply both sides by that common denominator.
Yeah.
And remember with an equation, if you multiply one side by something, as long as you multiply the other side by the same thing, it's in balance still. So I'd say this would cancel with those two. leaving me, with x squared plus 14x equals 15. What kind of an equation is that?
Quadratic.
Yep, and how do we solve a quadratic?
Quadratic formula
Or factoring. Either way, what we need to do, guys behind me, just be quiet. I'm sure it's really funny, but just be quiet. Okay, so I kind of favor factoring here because I think that this can be easier. I see this fairly quickly, x plus 15 times x minus 1 for the factorings. You could do the quadratic formula, no problem. But I like this. So I'd go zero factor property, oops. And that's where I get my negative 15 and my positive 1. Again, kind of like yesterday, fairly simple looking question, but then once you get into it, it gets pretty large pretty fast. Okay, anybody else? That was 1 and 4. 2 and 3.
Just real fast, on 2,
Yep.
how much work do you expect us to show for that? Can
For
it just
2,
be an answer?
for 2. I would be actually fine with that. There's ways, definitely ways to do that without really showing too many steps.
Yeah, because like right now I just did it.
Yeah, if you can see the 2 middle terms pretty easily. Yeah, when I was doing this earlier on my little solutions, I didn't write any steps either. So totally fine with that. Anybody else with a question? Okay, so we're going to finish our class with our concept quiz. We'll do that at the end. Hoping that by working on your reviews, you'll be as warmed up as you're ever possibly going to be for a final concept quiz of the year. So please take a minute, grab your devices. Let's get started working.